Jada Pinkett Smith is once again making headlines after revelations that reignite all the controversies surrounding Will Smith and their relationship. Between past scandals and recent discussions, many believe that Will's public image could be permanently affected. Today, we're going to break all of this down to understand what's really going on behind the scenes, far from what the public sees. On March 27, 2022, the Oscars became the stage for something nobody expected. Will Smith won Best Actor at the 2022 Academy Awards for his portrayal of Serena and Venus Williams' father, Richard. But what should have been the crowning achievement of a storied Hollywood career was obliterated in a matter of seconds. The comedian was hosting the ceremony and made a joke at the expense of Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, which the actor took to be an insult about her alopecia. Chris Rock compared Jada to G.I. Jane, a reference to her shaved head. Will Smith laughed at first, but after he saw Jada's reaction, he walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock. The room went silent. Then Will returned to his seat and screamed, "Keep my wife's name out of your finging mouth." It was the slap heard around the world. Both men have apologized since the incident, and Smith has resigned his membership of the Academy, who banned him from any events for 10 years. Will posted on Instagram saying, "I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong." He called his own actions not indicative of the man I want to be. But for a lot of people watching, both in the industry and at home, the apology didn't settle anything. It raised more questions. Why did Will snap that way? What was really going on behind closed doors? And who ultimately was responsible for Will Smith going from America's favorite movie star to an internet punchline? The national fallout became about more than gossip and drama, with discussion veering into the male hero complex, freedom of speech, cancel culture, and more. But on the comedy circuit, one man was about to go much further than anyone in calling out exactly what he saw. His name was Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle and Will Smith go way back. Smith enlisted the master, Dave Chappelle, for help when he decided to conquer his fear of performing stand-up comedy. For his Facebook Watch show, Will Smith's Bucket List, Chappelle told Smith, "The first thing I'll tell you is confidence is key. The reason you should be confident is primarily because you're Will Smith. I've been watching you for years. You're actually a funny dude." Will opened for Chappelle in front of a sold-out crowd, nervously joking about his own family, including a crack about Jada's Red Table Talk show. Smith asked the audience if they'd been watching Red Table Talk. "You can enjoy it," he told the crowd, "because she not telling all yo business." That was 2019. By 2022, the dynamic between these men had fundamentally shifted. After the Oscars slap, Chappelle was one of the first comedians to publicly weigh in. Chappelle reportedly said, "A lot of people forget who Will Smith is." Speaking on stage at Liverpool's M&S Arena during a joint tour with Chris Rock, Chappelle delivered a line that cut straight through the mythology of Will Smith's public persona. He said Will did the impression of a perfect person for 30 years, and he ripped his mask off and showed us he was as ugly as the rest of us. That statement landed like a grenade. Here was one of the most respected comedians in the world, a man who had mentored Will in comedy, declaring publicly that the Fresh Prince persona was a fabrication. A performance that lasted 3 decades before the mask slipped. Chappelle continued, "Whatever the consequences are, I hope he doesn't put his mask back on again and lets his real face breathe. I see myself in both men." On the surface, those words carried a strange compassion, but underneath, they were devastating. Chappelle was saying Will Smith had been lying to the world for 30 years about who he really was, and he wasn't done. In his Netflix special, The Dreamer, Chappelle devoted a significant portion to dissecting the slap. He described it as one of the craziest things I have ever seen. He thought it was fake, and he waited 30-40 minutes before calling Rock to find out what really happened. When Rock picked up the FaceTime call, Chappelle asked if it hurt. Rock told him yes, and that's when Chappelle knew it was real. Chappelle explained that the part that offended him was how Will just sat down and enjoyed the rest of his evening. In Chappelle's eyes, the audacity wasn't just in the slap, it was in the nonchalance afterwards. Will Smith struck another man on live television and then sat back down like it was a Tuesday. Meanwhile, Chris Rock was working through his own material on the subject. Rock tested out bits on the road with Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart, but nothing that included Smith's wife. But by the time Rock released his 2023 special, Selective Outrage, he went straight at the heart of the matter. He argued that Smith wasn't upset about the joke, but rather about his wife's infidelity, which had been made public earlier that year. Rock summed it up with one line that reverberated across the internet: "She hurt him way more than he hurt me." And with that, the spotlight swung fully onto Jada Pinkett Smith. The comedian and the actress were both, in their own ways, laying bare everything about Will Smith that he'd spent decades trying to keep hidden. To understand why Dave Chappelle's observations landed so hard, you need to understand the cracks that had already been forming in the foundation of the Smith marriage for years. The biggest fissure came in 2020, when August Alsina, a young musician who had become close with the Smith family, went public with claims that he and Jada had been in a romantic relationship. After previously denying reports of an affair with Alsina, Pinkett Smith confirmed she was involved with the musician in a conversation with Smith on Red Table Talk in 2020. "I got into a different kind of entanglement with August," the actress revealed, while also admitting that she and Smith were separated at the time. She further clarified, "It was a relationship, absolutely." That word, entanglement, became an instant meme, a cultural punchline, and a source of raw humiliation for Will Smith, who was sitting right there at the table as his wife described an affair to millions of viewers. "None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on TV." Chris Rock would later say, crystallizing the sheer surreality of that Red Table Talk episode. Will's face during the conversation became the subject of 1,000 memes. He sat there, forced to process the most personal betrayal of his life in front of the entire world. Then, in October 2023, Jada dropped her memoir, Worthy. In the opening pages, Jada Pinkett Smith describes the hellfire of hopelessness and depression that led her to contemplate suicide in 2012. The book traced her life from the streets of Baltimore, through her relationship with Tupac Shakur, to the heights of Hollywood, and into the turbulence of her marriage. She wrote that she was in a chronic state of discontent, and that her relationship with Smith had reached the point of irreconcilable differences in 2016. The revelation that stung the hardest: in October 2023, Jada revealed she and Will have been separated for 7 years, including the 6 leading up to the 2022 Oscars. That meant when Will slapped Chris Rock on stage in defense of his wife. They hadn't been living as husband and wife for 6 years already. In her memoir, she wrote, "Even so, I am unclear on the reason why Will is so upset. We had been living separate lives and were there as family, not as husband and wife. But when I hear Will yell wife in the chaos of the moment, an internal shift of oh shit." Will Smith responded to the memoir through a letter read on Jay Shetty's podcast. He wrote, "It is amazing to realize that despite having lived most of my life by your side, I still found myself shocked and stunned and caught off guard, laughing, then inspired, then heartbroken. I was all over the place." He also told the New York Times via email that the book revealed Jada lived a life more on the edge than he'd realized. He said, "When you've been with someone for more than half of your life, a sort of emotional blindness sets in." The public response was divided. To some, her words are a mature acknowledgement that no partner can fill an internal void. To others, they are another chapter in a long history of public disclosures that paint Will in a negative light. A recent viral interview clip showed Jada saying that Will couldn't make me happy no matter what, and the internet erupted again. Reposts came with captions that framed Jada's comments as a criticism of Will rather than a self-reflection. What is undeniable is that each public disclosure, the Red Table Talk confessional, the memoir, the viral clips, stripped another layer off Will Smith's carefully constructed image, and Chappelle had already identified what was underneath. A man who was as ugly as the rest of us, trying to hold together a story that was falling apart in real time. As if the public dissection of Will Smith wasn't thorough enough, a figure from deep within Will's inner circle emerged to add gasoline to the fire. Once described as part of Will Smith's inner circle, Bilal Salam has become a controversial figure. In the orbit of the Oscar winner and his wife, Salem has publicly claimed a decades-long friendship with Will. However, that alleged bond unraveled after he made explosive accusations during a 2023 podcast appearance. The lawsuit comes 2 years after Bilal Salam claimed having caught Will Smith having sex with Dwayne Martin. Per a TMZ article, Salam made the claims in an interview with Tasha K. He described a scene he said he witnessed on a set years earlier. However, the claim was denied by Will Smith's representative, who said that Salam fabricated it and that it was unequivocally false. Jada responded when asked about the rumors during an appearance on The Breakfast Club in 2023. "It's ridiculous, right? And it's nonsense." The Girls Trip star also denied the accusations while speaking to TMZ that same year, hinting at possibly taking legal action against brother Bilal. But then things escalated. Salam, a best friend to Will for nearly 40 years, filed a $3 million lawsuit against Jada on the grounds of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Salam claimed Jada approached him with physical threats of violence and demanded he sign a non-disclosure agreement while at a private gathering at a movie theater in Calabasas for her husband's birthday in September 2021. According to the lawsuit, Jada allegedly told him he would end up missing or catch a bullet if he continued talking about their personal business. Salam claimed that 6 months later, actor Dwayne Martin called, stating that the couple urgently needed his help with crisis management following the March 2022 Academy Awards slap scandal. In the lawsuit, Salam claimed he told Martin that he refused to perform tasks he believed were illegal, unethical, or morally compromising. He said the smear campaign was heightened after they found out he was doing a whistleblower memoir on the family. Salam announced a book titled Will Smith: Demonic Circle, which was reportedly scheduled for release in December 2024. He claims that his whistleblower memoir was pulled. He claims he had a $500,000 advance in the works, but lost it over fear and emotional collapse. Jada didn't sit still. In mid-February 2026, she filed a motion to dismiss the entire lawsuit under California's anti-SLAPP law, which protects against suits meant to silence free speech. Her team labeled the allegations false, uncorroborated, and nonsense, part of a pattern of harassment for publicity and money. The courtroom showdown came quickly. The hearing happened in a Los Angeles courtroom where both Jada and Salam gave testimony. Details from the session highlight tense exchanges, with Salam recounting the alleged threats and Jada denying them outright. Her lawyers emphasized that no evidence backed up his story. On February 26, 2026, the judge ruled in Jada's favor on the restraining order. After reviewing the testimonies and arguments, the court found insufficient evidence to grant the petition. The case got dismissed, marking a clear victory for Jada in this part of the feud. But the larger $3 million lawsuit? The $3 million lawsuit remains active, with Jada's dismissal motion still pending. If the anti-SLAPP argument succeeds, Salam could even owe her legal fees. So here we are. The picture emerging from all of this is of a marriage that has been a performance for far longer than most people realized, and a man, Will Smith, whose closest allies, former friends, and even his own wife, have contributed to pulling back the curtain on who he really is. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are publicly presenting a united front, amid rumors of a strained marriage, with insiders suggesting their relationship is more of a business arrangement. Despite reports of tension behind closed doors, the couple continues to show a united front in public appearances. They recently reunited at Paris Fashion Week to support their son, Jaden, who debuted his first collection as the men's creative director of Christian Louboutin on January 21st. But even that public appearance came with whispers. Insiders tell the National Enquirer their marriage is nothing more than a business arrangement. People in their orbit are at ease when Will and Jada present like they are aligned. It's not really clear where their careers and their studio will go in the next few years, and they have chosen as business partners to not disagree in public. Meanwhile, Jada has made it clear that reconciliation on the home front isn't happening anytime soon. She said, "We will, not right now." Jada followed up with the line that is now everywhere online. "Right now, I really do enjoy my space." In a March 2026 Instagram post, Jada Pinkett Smith confirmed that she and Will Smith are still living separately, a dynamic that has been in place since 2016. As the actress put it, "I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce." She told NBC in 2023, "We will work through whatever, and I just haven't been able to break that promise." But she has also been candid about why the fracture happened in the first place. "I think by the time we got to 2016, we were just exhausted with trying. I think we were both stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be, and that's the thread that ties all of this together." From Chappelle's razor-sharp observations about the mask, to Jada's memoir laying bare the years of secret separation, to Chris Rock pointing out the humiliation of the entanglement, to Brother Bilal's explosive and unproven allegations making their way into a Los Angeles courtroom. Each one of these people, in their own way, has contributed to dismantling the mythology of Will Smith. Dave Chappelle called it years ago on that stage in Liverpool. The mask was off, and it wasn't going back on. Whether Will Smith can rebuild, or whether there's even anything left to rebuild at this point, remains the open question. He remains banned from Academy events. he remains separated from his wife. He remains the target of unproven but deeply damaging allegations from a man who was once inside his inner circle, and he remains the subject of stand-up specials, viral clips, and headlines that show no sign of stopping. The couple's unconventional marriage, marked by periods of separation, an admitted affair, and ongoing candid conversations, continues to fascinate and frustrate audiences. Whether Jada's message is one of empowerment or emasculation depends largely on who is watching. What's clear is this: the version of Will Smith that the world loved for 30 years, the charismatic, untouchable Fresh Prince, no longer exists in the public imagination, and it wasn't one person who destroyed it. It was all of them together.